is going on, guys? Today I want to talk to you about Saab and some common misconceptions that people have about the brand. Now, I've come up with 4 in particular, and I'm sure that you guys have experienced or heard of more, so if you have, leave those down below in the comments. But to start off, a lot of people really just don't know Saab, to be quite honest, and they just assume all these things about Saab. They assume, oh, Saab, no one ever buys a Saab, they're total crap, they're unreliable, they're slow, whatever. A lot of people that really aren't true car people and really know about Saab just assume that they're total crap and they're not good cars. Really only because they don't make them anymore. And I understand that stereotype and why people would think that, but it's highly untrue. So let's go ahead and get into the first misconception, which is that the company doesn't exist anymore. Saab itself as a company no longer makes cars. Yes, that's true. But all the rights and the patents and everything was bought by a company called Nevs, which I've made a couple of videos on. They're on my channel if you're interested to learn more about Nevs. They were bought by Nevs a few years back, and Nevs is currently working on producing an electric 9.3 and 9.3X, with plans to make an electric 9.5 and possibly even more cars. So granted, this is not the same as a Saab, and on that video that I made about Nevs, I got a lot of comments and pretty much 2 polar opposite opinions, where some people said, man, I love that they're continuing with the Saab styling, or they're at least putting effort in to try and bring some sort of Saab back, and other people are like, yeah, this is garbage, this isn't a Saab, this is just some Chinese bullcrap. And, you know, really, it just depends on who you are. And this came from both enthusiasts and non-enthusiasts that were on both sides of the spectrum. So the Nevs 9.3 is what it's going to be called, and Nevs 9.3X. They're both going to be sold in both Sweden and China, and I believe they have already started production. If they haven't, they are starting it soon, because they have already released the car. I believe it was back in May. They formally released it at an auto show. But anyways, the company does still exist, so do not think that they don't exist. Number 2, and this is the one that I probably get the most from non-Saab people on the channel, and that is that parts are hard to find. Parts for Saabs are extremely easy to find. Now, they're not as easy to find as something like a Toyota Corolla, but you can get any part that you would need for your Saab, especially if it's a newer one and not one that's like 40 years old. You could find anything that you would need from at least 2 or 3 good sites. And the sites that I usually use are 1, esaabparts.com, 2, eeuroparts.com, and 3, genuinesaab.com. Of course, there are other sites besides those 3 that sell Saab parts, but those are really just the 3 that I use because they're good priced and they're located here in America, so shipping is pretty good. So yes, parts are still readily available. And I also do usually go to junkyards first to look for parts because they're way cheaper. And there are Saabs in junkyards. Granted, they are few and far between, but there are some in junkyards as well. Number 3, and this is another big one that I get, is reliability. People say, Saab went out of business because they're unreliable. Well, no, that's not really true. Saabs are actually pretty reliable cars. Especially when you take care of them, they are very, very reliable cars. I've had my Saab for almost a year and a half, and granted, it has had 2 problems or so since I got it, including one was a check engine light when I got it, which was just coil packs. But it has been extremely reliable. It's started up every time. It's never shut down on me. It's never done anything out of the ordinary. It's always been great for me. And I have a great example of Saabs being reliable because my dad recently just sold his 1996 Saab 900, and he bought that. He was the original owner, and it had over 312,000 miles on it, I think, when he sold it. And I've seen other posts online of Saabs having 500,000 miles, even more than that. So really, when you take care of a Saab, it'll take care of you and it'll be reliable. Now, there are other people who have bought used Saabs, and they've bought them from people who didn't take care of them, and they've had horrible ownership experiences because, I mean, when you don't take care of a car, it's not going to be reliable, period. I don't care what car it is. So for those of you that have experienced that, I'm sorry, but I promise you, if you buy a good used Saab that has been taken care of, it'll be good to you so long as you keep taking care of it. And when I say that all Saabs are reliable, granted, there were a couple bad engines. I believe in the early 2000s and maybe even a little bit before that, the 9.5, it had a 3-liter V6. That is an absolutely god-awful engine. Stay away from those at all costs. But besides that, really, they are very solid cars in terms of reliability. So relating back to my second point about parts being hard to find, the fourth misconception that I have for you guys is that they're expensive and hard to maintain. Saabs are no more difficult to maintain than a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic. As long as you keep up with oil changes, all your fluid flushes, all your belts, all that, whatever, just regular maintenance, you'll be fine. And it's not hard to do. It's not like it takes some super expensive rare oil. I mean, the oil that you need is used in a lot of other cars too. I use a Mobil 1 0W40, I believe it is. That's what the owner's manual says. That's what I use. I mean, you can find that anywhere because it's used in a bunch of other cars as well. And parts in general really aren't all that expensive. Granted, they're not as cheap as some more common cars, but it's not like you're going to be paying $1,000 for an oil change or something absurd like that. So sort of relating to that, if something does break on your car and you can't fix it yourself, usually taking it to, not a dealer, but taking it to a mechanic, a specialist, like a Saab specialist mechanic, that'll usually cost you a pretty penny to fix because not many people can confidently work on Saabs, so they know that and they're going to charge you a lot for it. For example, when I got mine, I also had a problem with when the AC fans was bad and my dad and I couldn't figure it out. So we took it to the Saab mechanic. It was like $450 to pinpoint that problem and then fix it. But I highly suggest just learning how to work on the car on your own. And of course, if you can do that and take care of it, you won't have any major problems. So aside from going on that little tangent there, those are the 4 big misconceptions that I have for you guys. Let me know if you've thought of more or encountered more misconceptions. Leave them down below in the comments. Let's try and get this video to 150 likes. My videos, depending on how many views they get, usually get between like, I don't know, maybe 70 and like 110 likes or something like that. So let's try and get this one to 150 likes. Help support the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see y'all next video.
Good.